Hey everybody, my name is Eugene, I'm the Team S21, and I'm here to show you my deck profile. The deck I was playing at ARG was Vanguard Brave, the Sanctuary Guard Blaster Engine. Well, starting off, just have Vanguard Brave, you know, a great starter to play with, works with Blaster Engines really well, helps getting the grade 3 Searcher, grade 2s, or grade 1s, it doesn't really matter, it's a very situational card. Its effect is whenever you boost a unit with Blaster and you hit your opponent's Vanguard, you put this into the soul and then search out for any unit with Blaster in name. So, you know, Majesty Lord Blaster, your grade 3, you know, Blaster Blades, Blaster Barkles, or whatever, it doesn't matter. You can search those out. It's very situational. For grade 3s, I was running 6 grade 3s, so 4 Saint Guards, and then 1 Altmile, and then 1 Majesty Lord Blaster. Alright, so for Saint Guard, the ability is, when you place on the Vanguard, you can discard a card from your hand and then search your deck for a grade 1. So I usually use this to either search for a Blaster Barkgull or the crit trigger, the Flogal crit trigger, which helps out with a lot of plays, especially since if I ride into this, more than likely I am going to be striding. So helps out with creating those big lines for Blaster Blade to swing with. I use Altmile and Majesty Lord Blaster as kind of tech-ins for emergency grade 3s, so if I didn't have Saint Guard in my hand, or like if I didn't get into it at all, these were going to be my backup. So say for example, I use Vanguard Brave to bring out Majesty Lord Blaster. I can use him as my emergency grade 3, or I can use him as stride fodder. And then if I happen to have a grade 3, or if I happen to have him in my hand and I didn't have Saint Guard, I would use Altmile's ability to, you know, have a better grade 3 to stride into. Altmile's ability was whenever you stride into you can counterblast 1, call 2 cards from your hand, and then give them both, or choose 2 units on your field and give them +5. And then his GB2 skills is during your turn, all of your units in the front row get +5. So, in the tournament, I never really got to use Altmile. Usually, most times I would just pass him up or use him as stride fodders. My main focus was just Saint Guard, and then MLB was very, very important because in most cases, sometimes I didn't have my Saint Guard in my hand. So using him with Wingull was a lot of help. For grade 2s, I ran 1 Blaster Blade Spirit. Blaster Blade Spirit is whenever he's called from the deck, counterblast 1, and you can retire 1 grade 2 or grade on your opponent's side of the field. So he's a 10k. I usually tried riding him as a grade 2, you know, get that 10k base. So it's really nice, but the bad part is if you call him out on the rear guard, if your opponent attacks it, you kind of lose it. It doesn't really matter, no matter what, if it doesn't hit or not. So pretty much whenever somebody hits this guy, I just let it go. It doesn't matter. I ran 2 Blaster Darks. Blaster Darks was just pretty much there for the Blaster name. His skill is, you know, you have a Blaster Javelin in the soul, which, you know, I'm not really going to have. He gets an additional +1000, and then if I play him on the Vanguard, I can counterblast 2 and blow up whatever unit on the field. But yeah, mainly focusing on the name of Blaster itself. I ran 2 Starlight Violinist. Starlight Violinist was the emergency card to get out my grade 2s that I needed. Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1 when he's placed on the Vanguard or rear guard. Pay the cost, and then search out for a grade 2 and then call it to a rear guard. So definitely helps out a lot when I needed either the Lu or the Blaster Blade. So, and speaking of Lus, I ran 4 Favorite Pupil of Light and Darkness Lu. He is definitely one of the key cards, very helpful with the grade 2 games, and by God, I love this card so much because when boosted with the grade 1 Barkgull or the Flogal crit, this guy either becomes a 16k base or a 19k swing, and it's just stupid. On top of that, so like I was saying, when he's boosted by the Flogal crit or Barkgull, he gets +3. And then whenever you attack a Vanguard, you can counterblast 1, tuck him into the soul, and then search your card for one of the cards with Blaster in its name, but it has to be a grade 2. And then when you do, you can give that unit +3. Alright, and then getting onto the main guy of the deck, I ran 4 Blaster Blades, and I'm pretty sure one just got hidden under here. Yeah, there he goes. Alright, 4 Blaster Blades. The really ideal card, when you place on the Vanguard, counterblast 2, you can nuke whatever on the field. If it's on the rear guard, counterblast 2 and nuke something on the front, or nuke any grade 2 on the field. So using him, he was a really key card in the deck. Definitely runs well with Lou and helps out a lot with the grade 2 game. Now going on to grade 1s, I ran 2 Swordsman of Light Blaster Laura Rapier. Or Blaster Rapier Laura. Used her only for the resist ability, and on top of that, the name of Blaster. Other than that, I mean, she's just pretty much the basic 7k booster. Now, I ran 4 Blaster Friend Barkals. Very important card of the deck. Definitely helps with creating those big lines for Lul, and it's also a really good tool to unflip with the Blaster Blade. Its skill is when a card named Blaster Blade, and this is being Blaster Blade vanilla specific, when he's placed, if you have a Blaster Vanguard, you can unflip 1. A lot of people at the tournaments that I've seen play this, if they had like a different grade 3 that was not a Magistral Blaster, a lot of times they would be using the ability to unflip, you know, without having that Blaster Vanguard. So if you ever see that happen, it would probably be best to call them on that, because that's, you know, it's kind of putting them at an advantage and not you. But yeah, so definitely helped out a lot in the deck. Now, since I'm only running 6 grade 3s, I ran 4 Laurel Knight Sisylis. Sisylis is your Stride Enabler card, and he is, you know, place it on the rear guard. You can search your deck for or reveal a grade 3, search your deck for a alt mile, and then add it to your hand and then discard a card. I didn't really use this ability to do search for alt miles, since most times I always had either MLB or Sanctuary Guard in my hand. So, but definitely important to run 4 of these if you're running less than, I don't know, 7 strides, or 7 grade 3s. Ran 4 of the PG Unflippers. I did it mainly because most cases I was counterblasting a lot for Lou's ability, Flogel's ability, or what else was there? Actually, no, I think that's about it. Well, no, Starlight Violinist as well. Yeah, so mainly doing it for those skills. I occasionally did Blaster Blade skill, but most cases I didn't. Now, onto the triggers. I ran 4 Floral Paladin Flogel. Ryan would always say this, but he would always call it that damn dog. Counterblast 1 at the end of the turn that a Blaster Blade attacked a Vanguard. On the you can choose one of your rear guard Blaster Blades and stand it. And this card, like, it was ridiculously stupid because, say for example, I ride Sanctuary Guard Regalia, right? Or I stride into Sanctuary Guard Regalia. When I called this out with Sanct Guard's main ability before I did the stride, call this out to the field. If I fill back my back row with, you know, grade 1s or less, 9k to the front row, have a Blaster Blade in the front row, it's just going to constantly swing for those high numbers, and then I get to restand them on top of that. It's like, the system works really well. Now, I ran 4 regular crits, 4 heals, and then for this tournament I ran 4 draw triggers. I just chose a Margot clone just because of, I don't know, better foils, but I ran this and I wasn't really quite comfortable with it, but in my previous version of this I had stand triggers, and I might be going back to playing stand triggers again, because with stand triggers I'm able to constantly attack my opponent's Vanguard with the Blaster Blade and then restand him, and then do the Flogel stand, and it just creates like all of these big chain of attacks, and it felt more consistent and more comfortable to me. Running the draw triggers, yeah, it was more defensive play, but I don't know, I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't really do well in the previous, or in the late tournament that we just had recently. Alright. For strides, I ran 2 of the Sanctuary Guard Regalies. I didn't really feel like running 4. Definitely when the G Guardians are bumped up to 16 and we get the Daigo set, definitely going to put him back to 4. But outside of that, he's a great card. For each grade 1 or less on your field, all your units in the front row get +3 for each. So 3 grade 1s or less in the back row, that's +9 to the front row. If you played a grade 1 or a grade 0 in the front row, if that's your thing, +12 to the front row. So yeah, but it's a great card. Works really well with the blaster engine because you can constantly have a 9K in the front, swing with the blaster blade, and then restand it with flow and still have a high number to a card. I ran 2 Saint Blow Dragons. I didn't really get to use Saint Blow that much, but if I ever did, I mainly used it for the pressure of the crit, not really for anything else. I didn't really care much for the power number, but just for the crit itself. But his ability is act, flip itself, and then for each rear guard you have on the field, it gets +3, and then if you have 2 or more rear guards on the field, it gets an extra crit. Alright, and then for the main stride that I mainly did in the tournament, I did Alt Mile. Alt Mile is the card that's going to say, hey, let me fill up my board with my Luz, my Blaster Blades, my Starlight Violinists, or whatever. It doesn't matter. I search out one of those cards, and then if I have the back row that I need for the field, I can literally set up my field for constant attacks. His ability was, when you stride into this, or when he's placed in the Vanguard, flip a copy of himself, give your front row +3. So, that's a good start to a line. And then when its GB2 effect is, when it's placed, you can search your deck for a grade 2, call it to the rear guard, and then give it +5. This really helps bring up the pressure on Lu or Blaster Blade or Starlight Violinist. So just helps bring out those lines to a bigger number. Well, thanks guys for watching, guys, and I'll tell you what, like, favorite, subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.